Now, before I get into the example about P4, the first example, I want to just talk a little bit about what this section is trying to do. So it's stuff, again, that you've seen a lot of in the past, is linear equations. And linear equations always start with slope. We have to know slope in order to get an equation for a line of some sort. So we've got the slope formula. We've got m equals change in y over change in x. A lot of us know that as rise over run. However you want to think about it, we need to know a way to find out the slope, and so that's just something we'll be using throughout. Now if you look down here, all of these formulas should be fairly familiar. Slope-intercept form, probably the most familiar, y equals mx plus b. Point slope, you may remember using that one. That's one that we'll start with in a lot of cases. It's one of my favorites as far as starting a linear equation problem. But then we also have vertical and horizontal line, remembering that those, they're just a single number in each of these spots. So we could have like x equals 5, and that would be a vertical line that goes through the value of x equals 5. So those are all your forms. The only one that's probably not super familiar is this general form. General form is looking like this. Oh, I crossed out the important thing. The important thing about general form is that it's got a 0 on this side. This ax plus by plus c it's not really any magical way that we can get that. It's just a last step in our process. So if you see general form being asked of you on the assignment, just remember that it's a last step and that it's not some formula that you need to do. It's just get it in a form that you already know and then dump it all onto one side, leaving 0 on this side. Again, it's unfortunate that I flubbed that up because, well, hopefully you can see that now. That's 0. So that's what general form is, and we're going to have an example where you are asked to put it in general form. So here it is. So general form is, again, the last step in a problem. I have 2 points. We want to find the equation, the general form equation for a line through the point -3, 8 and 4, -1. As I mentioned before, we always start with slope. So let's find out what the slope is for anything. M equals, and we do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that could be, we call this, either point, doesn't matter which one you call 2 and 1, as long as you go in the same order. So let's start with -8 and -1. So -8 minus -1 over -3 minus 4. That way I get on top, I get -7 over -7, and the great news about that is we get one of our favorite numbers, which is just 1, easier number to work with. Once we have the slope, then we're going to use one of the other formulas that we have here. Like I said, my favorite formula is point slope form. So going back to point slope form, it's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. The y1 and x1, you just choose one of the 2 points that you want to use there. The m is our slope, so that's one. There's nothing that changes about that. So we're going to set it up with point slope form. Y minus y1, I think I'm going to use just this point here because it's smaller numbers. So y minus -1 equals 1, that's the slope, that's going in for our m, times x minus 4. The y and the x are just going to stay as is. Now I put those together, I do some work with that. That's y plus 1. I distribute the 1, that just gives me x minus 4. And now what I might be inclined to do, you don't have to do this, but a lot of people probably will, is just put it in slope-intercept form. So we subtract the 1 and we get x minus 5. That's a really familiar form to all of us. This is slope-intercept form, but remember that this problem is asking for general form, and this is the last step of the process. It means that all we're going to do is just dump everything onto one side. It doesn't matter which, if we go to the left or the right. we're just going to get a general form. So just because I've already got this stuff right here, I think I'm going to dump the y over onto the other side by subtracting it. So that makes it 0 equals x minus y minus 5. I could have subtracted the x, added the 5, put it over here instead. It doesn't really matter which way you do it. This is a general form that works. One thing that you need to keep in mind is when you see the answers in the back of the book, there are going to be times when they put different numbers in front of these. You could have fractions in front of these as well. There's not a unique general form. So if you see something different in the answers, just know that yours might be the same, and if you have questions about it, we can take a look in class and see if it is actually the same general form.